Hi, Gary King from thepoweroftruth.com. So I recently wrote an article, magazine article, called The Price of Indifference. So I'd kind of like to give you just a little of the highlights and the gist of The Price of Indifference. So I'd start out by telling you, so you're driving down an interstate highway, the speed limit's 70 miles an hour, and you look at the speedometer, you're actually doing 75. Kind of a 5-mile-an-hour hedge on the thing. So all of a sudden, you look in the mirror, and there's a whole row of cars, and you're in their way because they're actually going 90 miles an hour, and as they pass you going 90, they're looking over at you like you're an idiot. Like, why are you driving on the interstate highway at 75 miles an hour when we're all going 90 or 95 miles an hour? See, indifference shows up in so many different places, and I don't know how often you really think about this, but that's being indifferent. That's being indifferent to the speed limits. Like when people run red lights. Well, I'm in a hurry. I got to get somewhere. So the red light's not for me. They're indifferent about it. Or maybe you're in an airport. I travel a lot, and I see people do this all the time. I'm in the waiting area, waiting to board a plane, and I see somebody on a cell phone. Well, they've got the cell phone, they're talking, they go up with a ticket in their hand, they hand the ticket to the agent, they're still talking on the phone, they walk down the jetway, they're still talking on the phone, now they're on the plane, they've got an armload of hand carry, and they're still on the phone, and they're trying to get the hand carry in the overhead, and they're holding everybody up, and they finally get their stuff in the overhead, and they sit down, and they're still on the phone, and then the door closes on the plane, and of course they're still talking on the phone, and the flight attendant comes over and goes, excuse me, would you please shut off the cell phone? And they continue to talk on the phone, and the flight attendant actually has to come up 2 or 3 times, and of course they finally hang up, and they're indignant about it, like they've been, seriously inconvenienced. And then of course I've eavesdropped on part of the conversation, and it's about the price of flowers at Walmart or something, that really has no consequence in reality. But yet people are indifferent. They're indifferent. And I ask people in stores all the time, I say, how do you feel when a person comes to a checkout line and they're on a cell phone the whole entire time? And every person I've ever asked that question to in a store always is just amazed that people would be that rude and indifferent to other human beings. And you see, how does that show up in your life? Because I'm sure there's people watching this clip that have probably done or currently do the very same thing. They're indifferent. How does that show up? How does it show up if you're indifferent to a speed limit, or indifferent to a red light, or indifferent to another person's feelings because you spend so much time on a cell phone? How does it show up? Well, maybe you're indifferent about being honest in your relationship. Maybe you're indifferent about being honest in the workplace. Maybe you just constantly tell people what they want to hear because you can make more money if you tell people what they want to hear. Maybe. I don't know. How does it show up in your life? How does indifference show up in your life? Because it does. And how do you feel when you're treated with indifference? How do you feel when you're treated that way? Because you see, there's nothing more important than your character and the character of the people around you.
Very good.